Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our backyard. Got a few things going on in our gardens, and so I wanted to share those with you this morning. Got some birds that are visiting, but right now I have got a pipevine swallowtail butterfly, and I'm gonna scroll in, zoom in so you can see her. It's pretty early in the morning, and so she's not moving yet. But I also have some birds visiting. My name is Crystal, and I garden south of Houston along the Texas Gulf Coast in Zone 9B. And I've mentioned we got a lot of rain recently, lots and lots of rain. And oh my goodness, things have really exploded. Today is mowing day. We need to mow an edge, but there's just an explosion of growth. We've got heat, humidity. I mean, it's summer, and we can tell summer is here. I'd like to go to the first plant. So I showed you this before when it was starting to bloom, and this is John Fanick phlox. Look at this gorgeous paniculata phlox. Look at how big it is, that bloom head. It's just such a nice bloom. Let me show you the tag on this. So you're going to have to ignore the price because that was about 4 years ago when I purchased this. But let me get the back of the tag. And this comes just to life in the summer. A lot of the garden phlox that we have to grow in the wintertime because it just melts in our summers here. But this one was actually found in Texas. It was in the San Antonio area. So it's supposed to reach 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. It definitely is heat tolerant. It does fantastic in our high heat and high humidity. You'll notice also that it goes down to zone 4, which I was a little bit surprised about. I had forgotten that. And it blooms in the summer. It loves the sun, and it's also fragrant. And that's the thing that I really, really love about this plant. So last night as I was looking at it, there were honeybees on it, and they were visiting each one of these blooms. The part that I really like about this phlox is, well, it's a paniculata, so it makes a huge statement. You can see it from across the yard. It has such a gorgeous bloom head. This is one that's going to start blooming. And when it's done blooming, deadhead it, and that will encourage a rebloom. But this will bloom for me all summer long. And I've got the edges blooming, and the center is going to start blooming here pretty soon. The other thing I love about this phlox, for those of you down here that are considering, right, and have thought, yeah, you can't grow phlox in the summer. You can't. I mean, there's not many varieties at all that will take our heat and humidity well like this one does. And this one is so showy. But I like it because of its long season. It has the green interest. The only thing that I've mentioned that sometimes I'll have to do is I will have to provide a stake for it here and there. If we have some high winds. So last year during our hurricane, some flopped over, I propped them up, and they were just still perfect. This is a native. This is a Texas native, and it's doing gorgeous. The reason I wanted to share, one last thing. It does spread by underground rhizomes. So in the spring, once you get a nice, beautiful area of it, you can divide it, and put it elsewhere in your garden. I love this phlox, and that's what I need to do because I need to have it in my various garden beds instead of just tucked away over here along my fence. The reason I wanted to also show this, in addition to that it's got its beautiful blooms starting to bloom, is what's behind it. So I bought this 5 years ago from Proven Winners. This is a blue chiffon rose of Sharon. And take a look at these leaves. It hated our deluge of rain. It just hated it. And so I am starting to get some new growth again. But look at that. It just hated what we got. I do have this in a raised bed. So this is soil underneath. Way underneath is a clay, but at least it's raised up so it's not sitting in water when we had those inches and inches of rain, and this plant did not like it. The reason I got it is because I loved the blooms on this. So Rose of Sharons are rated for our zone, but I think they do better without the heat and humidity. Last year I didn't have a problem with this and it grew nicely. But last year we didn't have lots of rain either. We were having to do a lot more supplemental watering. And we also didn't have those 100-degree days day after day after day. So I wanted to show you this because this is not a native and it is not loving its life at the moment. What's in front of it is a native and it just loves its life. So what's my takeaway? And gardeners know this, especially experienced gardeners. Sometimes no amount of babying or doing things right or putting things in a container, trying to find the best microclimate that you can really makes a difference, because plants do well where they are intended to do well, what they're zoned for, what their native area is. And if you try to bring in a plant that it's just sometimes that just does not go well. So I just wanted to point that out. One of the reasons I like natives so much is because they do so well in our areas. Unfortunately, when I bring in a non-native just because I want it, and it's not necessarily something that's great for here, sometimes it struggles. And this spring, unfortunately, my blue chiffon rose of Sharon is struggling. Here's another native. This is a native bush. And this I've shared with you is the Flamacanthus. And it's really coming into its own in blooming. It's got blooms and pollinators on it. I love, this is probably the best flush of blooms in June like this that I will get. It just will bloom on the tips and bloom and bloom. A dainty little flower. But this is also a native, and this does well in so many parts of Texas, from the sandy soils to the rockier soils to even here. It's in the Houston area. It's doing so well. Look at that. And it's pretty tall. I've been trying to have it grow up rather than out. And so I will trim it because I don't want it in the walkway. But look at that. Isn't that pretty? I have to show you over here. I have a couple of persistent downy woodpeckers. And they want, if you see this log has some, they're trying to peek around and look at me, that has some suet in it. And unfortunately they're on the other side and they're, oh, they're, the doves, the white-winged doves, I don't really particularly like them in the garden. And the reason I don't is because they aren't bullies per se, but what their bodies are is so big. And one of the folks that goes to the native Wild Birds Unlimited bird seed place. Oh my goodness, there's 3 downies over here. Must be babies, too. They call the white-winged doves the garbage cans of the sky, and that is so true. I'm going to zoom in on these guys. Aren't they cute? For those of you that feed birds, don't get discouraged. Yeah, I've got 3 downies. One is up there. Interesting. So it must be family and juveniles. Don't get discouraged with birds. You see that log? That took like 9 months before anything would go to it. And I was getting discouraged, and it's like, it's such a bad feeder. It's not. It's a wonderful feeder. Birds can take a long time before they will be comfortable with the surrounding, with an area. And I've had birds take forever to find, especially suet feeders, and to be consistent. Not so much the seed feeders. But anyway, I wanted to share that little tidbit to encourage you. Don't feel badly if you put up a feeder, especially a suet feeder, and they don't find it right away or for a while. So it's early in the morning still, and I don't have a lot of activity. You saw the one butterfly that was roosting pretty much, and they're just not flying around yet. But you know that I am a butterfly, hummingbird, and pollinator gardener if you follow my channel. And this gorgeous vine that you see is not a pipe vine, sorry. It is a passion vine. And one of my native passion vines is just starting to flower. And this is the cotton leaf. And it's a really light purple color, and it only flowers in the morning. It's really high up, and I'm going to try to zoom in. It's such a dainty flower compared to the purple that's next to it that's going to flower, which is the incense flower. But I have the native in a container on this side, and then I have incense. I'd have more of the native, but it's a little bit, I have to take cuttings of it. It's not as hardy. Cold hardy is this hybrid called incense, from a hybrid from the maypop native passion vine. I've got some new growth coming in my Amante salvia. I really like that beautiful pink color, and the pollinators like it also. Amante has a tendency, because it is a Garenitica type salvia, to have down here not the most pretty leaves as it is growing and they're dying off. This flower bed is so large though that I don't really see a lot of that. Oh my goodness, I got a little lizard in here. See him? I have way more of these brown non-native anoles. Not a fan of the non-natives. The green anoles are our native anoles. Okay. A couple of plants I want to point out in my south garden bed here, and the sun is just starting to come in here. is this plant. This is structurally really interesting to me, and this is a giant milkweed. And I absolutely love having this plant in my garden. This did die during our freeze to the soil level. I have it in a very large container, but it has come back this spring. So in 3 months, this is what this giant milkweed has done. Isn't that beautiful? So I'm going to get a little closer, and then I'm going to look at the plant next to it. This plant has such gorgeous fleshy leaves. This is a non-native, but I do love this for the monarch butterflies. I'm going to show you a native new milkweed that I have in the garden. But before I do that, I wanted to point this plant out. And this plant is starting to get its bloom buds. And this is called a Pride of Barbados. And summer is when it shines. I love this feathery texture to the leaves, and the bloom on it is spectacular. So when that blooms, I'm going to have to come back and show you what its blooms look like. I really enjoy this plant. Okay, now back here to the milkweed. So I have some giant milkweed back here. I have a balloon milkweed. It's got its balloon seed pods. But I also purchased from Joyful Butterfly this spring green milkweed. And early this spring, I had this and it got munched on by the monarch caterpillars. And green milkweed is one of the native milkweeds in specifically the Houston area. And so I'm really happy with what this has done, even though it got munched, and in fact, that one almost got munched to the ground, but you can see it starting to come back. I was really pleased, and I got 4 plants, and I really liked them. So when I went to go back and order more, they were all out. So that was a mental note for next year. Green milkweed, I'm really, really pleased with how it is doing. I'm also pleased with how this candlestick alata is doing. I planted that kind of late spring from a seed, and I'm going to see how much this will grow. It's still kind of low here. I wish it was a little bit taller, but hopefully in another month it's just going to start to explode. I guess we'll see. The downies keep coming back to eat. See that on the feeder? One of the things that takes some maintenance for me is, and my husband helps me with this, is I've got 2 vines fairly close to each other, and they reach out and they try to, and they do connect, and I don't want them connected because we like to keep this path here as a path to be able to walk through. So that's something. If I had to do it all over again, I probably would have had them a little bit farther apart, but golly, vines like this that reach out could probably find each other no matter what. When I plant in the garden, I'm always planting for pollinators, but I also plant for what I like within that. And tropical hibiscus is something that I really like. This particular tropical hibiscus has surprised me. So it is a double bloom, and it has both peach and reddish flowers. The interesting thing about this one is it has the peach on the back side in these stripes. But they are such showy flowers. Pollinators do really appreciate them. And these blooms are so heavy at the moment that they're kind of showing and presenting downward. But I just love, this was just such a surprise. So I don't know if it's two separate plants. I've tried to go in and look. I don't think they were grafted. I think it's the same plant for, you know, just looking at what this backside looks like. The blooms are just presenting a little bit differently across the plant. It's really beautiful. I love this. The other tropical flower that I think is so pretty is this pink mandevilla. I've had both pink and red, and I love them both. I haven't had pink in quite a few years, and so I wanted to get pink again, and I'm really happy. I look out, and this mandevilla just brings a smile to my face every time I look out at it. Another flower that's been a huge surprise for me that I really am finding I'm loving is this Truffula Pink Gomphrena from Proven Winners. I love that bloom. Oops, there. It just looks like a puffball or a pom-pom. I just think that's it's doing very well in the garden bed next to these pink pentas. But this has been a surprise for me. I really like this flower. The other thing I wanted to share is this Gora. It's a pink Gora. I had pink aphids all over it earlier, and a couple of you suggested to just cut it down, and I did. I cut it all the way back. There's not an aphid on it, and it is really starting to grow. The regrowth is really nice, so we'll see if I can get another bloom out of this. So when I was at the nursery a couple of months ago, they had these hanging baskets that were really unique, and they were really super dark, this dark purple. In fact, it almost looked black. But in the sun here, in the morning sun, you can see the purpley color. And this is a very dark Tradescantia, and it's bloomed. It's just really, really interesting to me. So here's the other side. I have it under my tree so it gets shade most of the day, except it gets a little bit of early sun here. But it's such a unique hanging basket. I just find the color interesting. Typically, we'll see a lighter purple Tradescantia. I've got one in that basket with the Swedish ivy. But this is just dark and gorgeous. Here's the other one that I have in my garden. My mother gets one when we go back to visit. But they are just so striking. And as I pan, and I don't want to do this too quickly, but as I pan through the garden and look at them, that dark just adds a beautiful contrast. I really, really like that plant. There's just so much that goes on in the garden. It's fun to take a look daily at all the new happenings. What do you have that's really surprising? Oh, I see one of the fritillaries that's out and about. I don't know if you can see that butterfly flying. They must be starting to come out now. What are some of the things that are just really outstanding in your garden? What is something that you've noticed, either positively or negatively? You know, it's mid-June down here, and we're starting to get into the really hot days, which can stress plants. So what are you seeing that you're really appreciating in your gardens right now? Well, thanks for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day today, and I hope to see you again soon.